Hi everybody, it's Jennifer. So I'm sure you guys remember this apple painting that we started a long time ago. And today what we're going to do is we're actually going to add the layer on top. So we're going to work indirectly on it and try to finish it up. And I'm also going to work with transparent colors. So I'm going to be putting on more like glazes instead of thick opaque paint over top. So let's talk about what colors I've got out on the palette today. So I have titanium white, I have Naples yellow, cad orange, quinacridone rose. This is actually mixed, so we'll talk about that in a minute. We have anthraquinone blue instead of Prussian today. I think it makes a little bit of a brighter purple. And then we also have the raw umber as my brown, but you can see I didn't pull out of that yet. So the mixes that I have right now are my quin rose and my cad orange, and then I also have my quin rose with a little bit of orange and a little bit of blue, and then over here I have quin rose anthra blue with a little bit of white. This is the inside of the apple, and it is Naples yellow with a little bit of dirty color probably on my palette knife because I can see there's some other stuff in there, but it's supposed to be Naples yellow and titanium white. This is the cad orange, a little bit of the anthra blue, a little bit of Naples, and some white. This is just a little bit more of the anthra blue and the quin rose mix. And then over here, this really funky color, it's a little bit of everything. It's cad orange, quin rose, a little bit of the blue, and white. So the reason that I'm using the quinacridone rose and the anthra blue is that they're both transparent, so I'll be able to keep more of my value that's already there when I come back over top. It won't cover up that value. So again, I'm using transparent colors on purpose for this piece so that I can kind of keep some of that value. So the first thing I want to do is I want to think about where those lights and the darks are, and my darks are right through here. You can definitely see that on this apple. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of this darker purple, and you can see what I'm doing. I'm literally just kind of scumbling it over top. It's already a transparent color. It's right over here. Okay, and then I'm going to pick up a little bit of a brighter color. Actually, I'm going to hit all my darks while I've got the dark on the brush. So there's a little bit of reflected dark right here, right in this area. Okay, I'm going to wipe the brush off. I'm just going to pick up a slightly lighter color. It's not really lighter, it's got a little bit more orange in it, so it's actually a little warmer. Again, my value is already set, so I don't have to be as careful. It's not like with the orange where I'm having to set my value at the same time. So it makes it a little easier. Okay, so I'm coming down here, same thing. I'm just scrubbing the paint on there. Now this is kind of like a weird little spot. It's a reflected highlight. So what I want to do there is pull all of the color out of the brush and just slowly work this color in so I still get the light. So I still get the value, but I still get some brighter color so it doesn't get muddy with me adding white. Whenever we add white, it definitely pulls the intensity out of the color, so we want to be careful of that. We can also use zinc white, which is a transparent white, and that will help sometimes. So here we go. Again, see a little bit of the canvas showing through right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is pick up a little bit more of that dark. I kind of lost some of it, and I just want to slide some of that dark right through here, right up to the top of the apple, right down through here. Okay, so now what I want to do is pick up a little bit of that lighter color also. It needs to go right in this area. Okay, Now this one also has a little bit of a highlight. I'm going to pick up a different brush for the highlight so I don't get that brush dirty because I'm using it. And this one actually had a little bit of a violet highlight right here. Put that in. And one that was right up here on the corner. And I'm using, like I said, purple actually is the highlight there. Right, just softening that highlight in there, and then I'm also doing the same thing right in the center where this was a little lighter. Pick that back up in there too. And that got a little light, so I'm going to come back in and take some of that out. Just softening it. Usually you don't see a light there, but the way I had my light set up that day, I did have a nice light on the inside of the apple like that. Darken that just a little bit. Okay. So now I want to come over here and work on this part of the apple. So this is pretty simple. I've got my darker color down here, a little bit of reflected light. Oops, let me pick up a bigger brush. Darkest part of the apple would be right here. Then I'm going to pick up brighter red. You can see just a little edge of that red coming around the apple, so I'll try to get that on there. Just inferred. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of my warmer red. It's kind of that orangey red. It's got a little bit of the cad orange in there, or a little bit more of the cad orange in there. Okay. And same thing, I'm going to pick up a little bit of the darker red again, make this feel like it's going back down. Okay, so same thing right in here. I have a little bit of a highlight. I'm going to take that lavender color that I have, put a little bit of that back in with that lavender. Reflected light. So now we want to do the inside of that apple. Oh, I missed a little piece of that apple right here. All right, and this one's got a little bit of a darker spot right through here where it rolls. Now, I did not, unfortunately, have this apple anymore in my refrigerator because it has been too long. But generally speaking, you would want to make sure you had the fruit out in front of you. It's always so much better to work from life. Okay, so now I got to be careful here. There's actually a dark right in this part of the apple. Let me see if I can pick up this dark brown. There were some seeds in there. I am going to pick up a little bit of the other brown and mix it into this mixed color. Because I always want to do my darks first, so I'm just setting these darks. Okay, now there was also like a green little spot in there. A little bit of green. This is a really light green. And then there was a little bit of a funky brown where the apple had been cut. Okay, and then we had the inside of the apple, which was that pretty kind of beigey color. And there were some lights in there. Okay, so I'm scumbling on this lighter color right inside the apple. Okay, pick up a little bit more of the Naples yellow. Again, I don't want it to be perfect. I do want it to be painterly, so I want to be really careful that I don't make it too smooth. I picked up a little bit more Naples yellow because it was starting to look a little chalky. I don't want the inside of the apple to look chalky necessarily, so I want to be careful on that. You can see I'm not being too particular either. Okay, same thing on the other side. I'm going to get a little bit of the darker Naples yellow. Got a little bit more of the one with the white in it for this top part. Same thing, I'm just scumbling it on here. Now this is an opaque color. This is so far the only opaque we've used is this titanium white Naples yellow mix. Okay, so really quickly let's go ahead and put just a little bit of a darker color on the inside of this one in a few places, and I want to get that funky kind of green brown color from the palette. Okay, now we have stems and background. So the stems are basically in. I just have to make sure this one goes all the way in to the middle of the apple. And same thing on this one, I'm just going to darken it on one side, make one side a little darker. Take a little bit of this lighter color, put a highlight on it. One side, same thing over here. Okay, so now we have shadows and background. So for the background, let's see, get something big. I'm gonna go ahead and set those shadows since I have dark on my brush anyway. And I'm gonna go with a funky purple. And again, this is a see-through color, so all I'm doing is scrubbing it on. My value is already set. So same thing, a little bit of this funky Quinn mix with the Anthrop blue. That one might have a little bit more blue in it. Let me wipe this out and get a little bit more red in that one. Okay. So that got a little dark on that shadow. I had too much paint, I think, on the brush. Just a little darker than I want to be. So what I'm going to do is take this rag, and right around the edges, I'm just going to lighten that shadow just a little bit so it won't kind of take off when I get there. And what I mean by that is a little bit of that paint mixed with my background color, it could alter the way it looks. So I want to be careful I don't have too much paint right there on the edge. Okay. So now what we want to do is go ahead and try to get into that background real quick. And I've got this funky kind of nondescript color. It's just got a little bit of everything I've used in it. I'm going to turn this upside down. Now this does have a little bit of titanium white in it, so it is covering. I'm using a really big brush too to do this really fast. Now I want you to take your time. You got to be really careful when you get up to the edge of your objects, so you got to be careful. I'm just going to go really fast for this demo, but your piece at home, definitely take your time. Okay, I'm going to turn it like this just so I can get into this edge. We don't want it to look like it's haloed, so I have to get really close to the stem if I can. Then I probably have to put that stem back in because that color's pretty close to it, so we'll just add a dark around that. Okay, it's pretty close, I think. Now let's add a little bit of a highlight. Sorry, we're gonna go dark because I don't think we can go lighter on that stem. So we're gonna go with that dark brown. Got a smaller brush again, and I'm gonna put that stem right back in. Okay. Now let's go ahead and do this table color, and then we'll be good to go. Now with the table color, what I want to do is I want to use a little medium on the brush, and I definitely want something with white in it. And again, I'm just going to be scumbling over the table in some places. So you can see I've almost got the same color as it already looked by removing the paint. I don't want something that's too gaudy or garish. I just want something that kind of fits in with what I'm already doing. And you could technically leave that table color, but be careful because if it doesn't match, it will look a little weird. It'll look unfinished. Okay, I'm going just to get these edges soft. I'm going right around there and working that color into the edge. Okay, same right up here. I'm just evening out this edge. I'm going to turn this upside down just so I can get into that little area. Right around the stem. Okay, so I'm turning this around again. So I think this really kind of sets up the piece pretty well. I don't really have to do too much more, and you can see what I did was I was able to use those transparent colors. So I'm just literally glazing over so that you get the look that you're looking for, but the value's already set. And again, this time we're using transparent colors like a glaze. So you'll see right through the color down to that underpainting. So I'd love for you to try something like this week for your assignment. Try using the transparent colors that you have on your palette to go back over one of those subtractive method pieces and it's almost like putting makeup on top. So think about it like glazing the color back on top. If you have any questions, email me.